Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Now, I know that you have seen my James Bond collection quite a bit. I mean, it's sort of my soundstage, if you will, and everything that I do in my videos. But you know, there is another collection. And I'll tell you, one of the questions I get a lot is, David, is there any way that we can see your other collection? We know that you have other hobbies and affinities and passions. We've seen a little bit of Star Wars and other things, but can we really just see your collection? Could you take us on a tour? Well, today I've done just that. So come with me as we explore just some of the other things that I'm into. And I think that you may find that, like other Bond fans, that it's not just about James Bond in your life. Let's take a look. So as we leave the confines of our James Bond world, we head through my gym. I think some of you have seen this in my videos. My exercise room, bamboo bouncy floor. Hello. Hello, Mr. Craig, my slam man. All right, so we have this door and it always remains closed for many reasons, but this is I call it my nostalgia room, for want of a better term. What the heck? All right, so before we start looking around, I need to say something about this area. This is not going to be overly pretty. This is what I affectionately call my workroom. So I do projects in here, I do some restoration, I have equipment. So it's not the neatest place in the world, but I think some of you may find it neat. So let's start over here. I told you it was going to seem a little overwhelming. So what I've done over here in this corner is, this is my nostalgia corner. A lot of it relates to Star Wars. And some of this are, well, it's my childhood, as well as some newly acquired Star Wars pieces. Now, I love the old retro collection. So of course I've got to have a skiff in here. And I'm really big, as you can see, into the displays. So it's not just about collecting the items. It's about how on earth do you display them in a really appreciative way. So I have the opportunity to revisit them from time to time. And I love that aspect. I love the whole idea that I can just walk down here and take a business call, which I do. And during those business calls, I have the opportunity to really just kind of walk around and just get this huge bolus dose of nostalgia. I mean, this is a big part of it. This is a couple other pieces that I've collected in here. Let's go down one other level. So this is great. I've tried to set up, and I do 100% of these displays, and it's like building a ship in the bottle. It's, you know, it's raining, you're what I call world building. And in world building, you're trying to figure out, for example, in this case, you know, Boba is talking to Darth Vader. And yes, I know it's very childlike, and people are going to scratch their heads for those that don't get it. But this just brings me back to when I was a little kid, and I would have a piece of styrofoam or a piece of cardboard from a leftover refrigerator box, and I would build, you know, fortresses for stormtroopers, and I would build Cloud City. And now that I have a little bit more folding money as an adult, I can, well, I don't have those limitations, but sure enough, I'm still building vignettes. Look at this, like, you know, the arrival on Cloud City, Star Wars, New Hope type atmosphere, the Millennium Falcon. This is the old, these are all like old. I love the old retro figures. What is Mando doing in there? Yeah, shows up. But the snow speeder, I mean, this is just, again, part of my childhood. There is a little secret though. I mean, maybe many of you are like this. Look at these Hoth play sets. Look at that. And of course I put a marble background. We had an old piece of marble from, I think a kitchen, no, a bathroom. It was, Danielle redesigned our bathroom. And I'm like, ooh, don't throw that out. I could use that. Of course, she had no idea that I was going to use it for a Hoth background, but there it is. All right, so part of this capture of toys when you're my age is you're sort of capturing some things that you didn't have when you were young. Like I wanted this Hoth playset so badly. You have no idea. And it's not that my parents were bad parents. I actually got quite a bit of Star Wars stuff, but this is one that eluded me. You know, I didn't walk into a store. My parents would gift me these things for birthdays and holidays and things like that. So if they didn't pick this out themselves, then I didn't get it. Here's the Ewok village. Got a wicket in there. Ooh, Han fell. Han fell. All right, so this is all part of maintenance. You're seeing this like actually happen in real life. So sometimes these things will get bumped when I have visitors or whatever will happen. So you gotta do constant maintenance, like picking Han up after a drunken stupor of partying with Ewoks. I mean, that happens. Got Dagobah, run to Dagobah, run to Dagobah. And what I love about this is like I'll pick out an R2 unit that I got that's all like dirty and muddy, and I'm like, yeah, that's perfect for Dagobah. I mean, it's part of the logic of things. Now, one of the things you may not be seeing in here is a lot of dust. That is because I do try to keep up with this, but this is a workroom. So if I Dremel something, guess what? Everything's getting dusty again. Now here's a mix mosh. You've got Kryptonite from Superman, Cylon Raider. You've got Superman shampoo. That's just obscene. A Monchichi, a really macabre Ronald McDonald puppet, psychology puppet. Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. Some of these were actually my childhood toys that I had, that I rescued and found somehow. Some of them I've acquired over time, but the reason nostalgia plays very, very hard in all of the things that we do is because it brings you back to a very simple time, a very happy time, because it was a time that you were able to just sort of let your imagination run wild. And I would say arguably all of the items that are in here, in this collection, harken back to a very simple nostalgic time. You'll see that many of them, for example, even all the Star Wars stuff, are really about captures of youth. And not youth like, oh, my skin's looking smoother and I feel sexier. It's the youth of innocence. It's how when you were done with your homework, you didn't have bills to pay. You didn't have employees that you needed to manage, or deadlines, or chief financial officers breathing down your back looking for margins. You had to understand, how was Han Solo going to fight the snowtrooper? How is 3PO and R2 going to get away from Boba Fett? Like, these were your big issues in your life. All right, this is worth pausing on. This is the Death Star. This is arguably the most incredible playset ever in toy history. Fight me if you think otherwise. It is got so much play value. It came out in 1978 when, things were innocent, plastic, young, and cardboardy. But the level of imagination, if you owned one of these, was astounding. And the areas of playability and hours of fun and the details were amazing. Well, guess what? Baby David didn't have this. And again, no crying for me. Great childhood, tons of toys, but just didn't have this one. And I just remember going over to a friend's house and they had this. And is it dramatic to say that my life changed? It did. Like, I remember he and I had brought over 2 Stormtrooper figures and a Darth Vader figure, and he had a bunch of figures. I think he had mostly the good guys. And we just played for hours, and I had a sleepover, and again, like into the night, and there were different night, scenarios with this. So I put this piece together piece by piece, and it was an investment, I'm not gonna lie, but oh my gosh, do I love it. All right, speaking of not having, these were all things I didn't have. I didn't really have the ships, so of course I had to recapture the ships. And again, I always try to put little vignettes of maybe not things that did happen, but things that could have happened. Here are these like mini rig vehicles that they sold towards the end of the line, the retro line, like 85, 84, 85. And got some interesting backgrounds in there. Actual packaging. I'm into marketing, so that's a lot of fun. The coveted Y-wing was something I just got not too long ago. So that's always cool. And then look at this, how they used just simple cardboard back in the day to put these things together. I mean, it didn't take complications. All right, now we're getting into new stuff. So they released a retro line looking like the figures would have looked back in the 70s and 80s, but for today's shows. So I dug those. And then here are the newer ones. And you can see they're on the bottom shelf where I typically don't see them because they're fine, they're great. I really like them. I've collected them over time, but they're not quite as special as some of my other pieces, just because I love the retro stuff. I love, again, the capture of the childhood. Now this is a totally different thing. So this is a screen used, actually used in the TV series. It's the hero suit from the Mantis. This one actually was from the premiere, the pilot episode of the Mantis, and I have tons of supporting material, an entire book on the creation and the suit. Why? Because I'm friends with Greg Nicotero, and if you know who Greg Nicotero is, his group did the Mantis, but his group also, and he does The Walking Dead. He's actually a producer for The Walking Dead. So this suit is something that I acquired from him way back when, and I still adore it. I've got some X-Men stuff. I've got DC. Let's get up close. That's what this video is for. And these are things that I'm still finding. Like, you know, yes, I'm into superheroes. I see almost every superhero movie, whether I've heard bad things or good things. I even saw Madam Web and survived. Look at this Christopher Reeve statue. I gotta do a different pose though. That pose is not doing it for me. But look at this, the bat pole, and it actually operates electronics. How cool is that? But I love things that are kind of like one-to-one props. Usually it's characters that I've liked. There's a screen, X-Men Cyclops glasses, Blade, things from Blade, things from Spider-Man. And then I've got some more Trooper stuff. Now, some of the Trooper stuff is missing because it's at a theater right now, doing some theater work. This is a slew of James Bond goodies. Old 1960s nostalgic stuff, and then promotional pieces. Now, I love James Bond promotional items. I've collected them for years. I collect the old ones. And again, how they market a movie is astounding to me. It's always of interest. All the different items and keychains. And by the way, this needs a good cleaning, but I've got the cars in here. I've got the sideshow dolls, even old Halloween costumes. The Big Chief dolls that came out were some of the best and most astounding, just absolutely beautiful. And then of course, you've got the Funko Pops galore, and some cars. By the way, in the forefront here, 1960s Gilbert Sean Connery, almost in perfect condition with clothing. Got a new suit for him. I got to put that on. His disguise, his weapons. And this was really cool. The guy who I bought this from even sent me the instructions. Very rare. Nice hodgepodge of nostalgic Star Wars in the forefront. And then this is really cool. So this is Lois Maxwell, but it's signed from Moneypenny with Love, Lois Maxwell. I love that piece. Got a hanging Pierce Brosnan. He's doing the dam jump. So of course I had to put him up there. By the way, the walls are covered in James Bond posters. Like there isn't like one area where it's not. There's me from The Last Gatherall. That was a fun, cool poster. This, I really don't share with anybody. This is my, hold on, let me get back for a little bit. This is my workspace. And my workspace, see there's a chair there. This is where all of my tools and paints. This is where I do restoration. This is always a mess, and it should be. I probably could do this in a more organized fashion, but this is the area that I restore props and toys and some wardrobe and things that need tinkering, etc. But this is where this is where it all happens. Now this over here is another shelf. I know, overwhelming. We've got Muppets up there. We've got Evel Knievel, more old toys. Now this is kind of fun. This area right here, sometimes I'll go to places and I'll have giveaways, or meeting somebody, I want to give them a little gift. This is my wall of James Bond gifts. Many of this have been gifted to me by other people, so I don't mind passing it along. And then this is going to be overwhelming. Hold on a second. Let me change my aspect ratio. Ladies and gentlemen, $6 million man. Now let me explain what on earth is going on here. So I have been collecting the $6 million man for some time, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that these were incredibly special. They came out before the Star Wars figures, and they were a major part of my childhood. Like, I would take my Steve Austin $6 million man figure that looks exactly like this. This one's in really good condition, and it would go with me everywhere. I would take it with me everywhere I would go. My mom knew this thing, if this was left behind, there were some major issues going on. But now that I'm an adult, put that in quotes, I've started collecting all the different versions, like Maskatron, like the astronaut version, all the different versions that you see. He had different arms, he had different ships, and even down to this is. I mean, I grew up with this, people. Do you understand that? Like, I would sit here for hours and have my Steve Austin regenerated. But now I can do my own type of restoration. Let me explain what this is. So all these up here are sort of custom versions. That's a Jamie Summers one, but that's a total custom one that I made of a fembot. If you don't know what a fembot is, you don't know Steve Austin. But down here, you will see this is my relaxing area. I sit down Indian style right here, and these are broken, and I basically restore these back to the original. And once you do that, they're worth a decent amount. Sometimes I let them go to other collectors that are looking for them, but I restore them back to what they were. And the restoration process, which is very painstaking, is part of my relaxation. It's creating these worlds and restoring them back to what they originally were. Like, for example, these are from the 1970s, early 1970s, like 1974, 1975. That is so relaxing, because painting the hair and doing this and doing that, it's not what I do at work. It's not complicated. It's simple fun. Who on earth put that pillow there of Lute Taggart from Bond's apartment? I don't know, but I need it out of here now. All right, we've got some more Star Wars over here. Again, just sitting there waiting to give to children of all ages. This, yeah, it's a pedal car. It's an Aston Martin pedal car. And this is just an entire wall filled with magazines from friends and clubs. I mean, it is just pouring out. And it's only just one area too, which is pretty astounding. We've got Grogu in here. And then over here, I know, folks, you never thought this was going to be as long a video as it is. I have screen used and screen accurate pieces, like from Spy Kids. Those are screen used items. We've got Indiana Jones, including the hat from the manufacturer. Tons of Indiana Jones stuff. I love me some Indiana Jones. Look at that. Very cool. Superman. That is a Christopher Reeve Superman cape from Superman 2. A couple of magazines from there as well. Even some Fight Club stuff. I got some Fight Club stuff going here, which is crazy. So I wanted to do a quick kind of, let's see if we can blow this out. There you go. A quick strafing run of my other collection bits and pieces. But believe it or not, I have a little bonus for you. Okay, the bonus is in this closet. And I, again, do not open this closet. I turn the light on when I do videos, but let's open it up. So this is where I keep extra jackets, and most of them are James Bond. I mean, there's other closets with other jackets, but this is, I mean, I'm seeing like several Billy Reed, Moncler's, Dragon Tattoo ones, you name it, etc. And this is like secondary shoes. Again, a lot of them James Bond. But wait, there's more. So again, trying to keep with the whole theme of, hey, you guys don't normally get to see this. This closet, which affectionately says employees only, is a room, hold it, what the heck? It's all James Bond accessories and clothing. The entire closet. Let's blow this out a little bit and get a quick strafing look at it. Got, and I know you can recognize a lot of these things. Those are all Tom Ford, Oliver Brown, you name it. We've got tons and tons of Bond-related suitcases, and all these down here, all of this here, folks, is a mixture of Sunspell and Oliver Brown. Got some SIS training in there. Tons of Oliver Brown. Much of this you can see still, in fact, not all of it, has tags. Sometimes they'll send me extra sizes, and therefore I have these things that aren't even worn yet. I will wear them, don't you wait. And this is very special. So this is a grouping of items that are screen used from different Bond movies, most of them the Daniel Craig movies, but they're all right there in all of their glory. So there you have it. The Closet of Wonders. I wonder how he got so much stuff. Closet of Wonder. Thanks for watching the Bond Experience. If you like what you saw, why don't you subscribe to the channel by clicking this button right here. We'll keep you up on everything new that's happening in the world of Bond. And speaking of something new, here's something new just for you because we know you so well. Talk to you soon.